I've started this review over a couple times because it's really difficult to talk about Tunic without spoiling things. Because what makes Tunic so special is interacting with it your way. It's going about things your way, finding secrets and solving puzzles and taking things on the way you want to do it. Do you want to go and again, I was about to spoil things. Do you want to go to this place first? Or do you want to go to that place first? Do you want to go get this item that'll help you do this? Or did you miss this item that is very important? There are a couple of really important items that I missed in my playthrough. And when it comes down to it, Tunic is 100% straight up my alley. This game might as well have been made for me. It's a game with a cute fox protagonist that has to explore a vast ruined world and try to put together not just the story of what happened here, but also piece together what their role in all of this is. And that is 100% my game. It's well known on this channel that I love Metroidvanias. I love exploring ruined worlds. And this is not technically a Metroidvania, though you do get movement abilities and you do wind up having a lot of cool different ways you can go. So it does have a little bit of that in there. And there's secrets everywhere, but exploring a world, especially a world that has already fallen apart and you're trying to piece together why, is some of my favorite things to do in video games. Things like the path list, things like Dark Souls. And I know you're going to hear people bring up Legend of Zelda and Dark Souls a lot when talking about Tunic, because it does have a little bit of the lifeblood of each of those in there, right? But I absolutely think Tunic stands on its own. I do have a couple small complaints I'm going to get out of the way, and then I'm going to try and talk about the positives without getting into spoilers, and then we're going to talk spoilers. But there really isn't much I can say without spoiling things for this, so the spoiler section is probably going to be pretty long. Couple small complaints. I don't think the targeting system is super great. There's a lot of times, especially when you're around the hooks, that I won't get into what they are used for here. When you get around some hooks, it can be really difficult to target the enemy you want to target, or if there's a big group of enemies, it can be really difficult to target like an enemy in the middle to be able to use an explosive or anything like that. It winds up being a little frustrating trying to manage the lock-on, especially when you have enemies on either side of you, and you're trying to lock on to the big one to your right, and you keep locking on to the enemy to your left, or you keep locking on to an enemy in the distance. However, that was a problem that only popped up like 5 or 6 times across my entire playthrough. It was only in very specific situations that the lock-on actively was a problem. And for the most part, I find this game doesn't really have any issues. I didn't really have any frame drops. Performance was great, and I didn't have any crashes. Tunic is one of the most stable games I played this year, and maybe that just goes to say some of the problems with some of the games that came out this year, but it's been really solid performance-wise. It looks great. It plays great. The music is really solid. The sound effects are really good. I absolutely recommend Tunic, and when we get into the combat, right, it's pretty tight. I think the parry window could maybe be a little bit bigger, and maybe the parry animation could be a little bit faster. But for the most part, combat's really, really good. I think that once you get a handle on the way that movement works in Tunic, it's very hard for enemies to pin you in and get you. Early on, I struggled a lot with that. I struggled with getting used to how movement works in this game. And it led to a couple situations where I would get pinned into a corner and there was not much I could do, and it led to a lot of my deaths. But once I got used to the movement, I was running circles around bosses in a way that I found really, really satisfying. The world itself is super cool. I think that the work that was done to differentiate the different areas while also still having them connected is amazing. And this world has a level of interconnectedness that you will only see in like a Dark Souls, right? Where everywhere you go connects back to other areas. Not all of them. Some of them are like spokes on a wheel, but like almost like a Dark Souls 1 level of you have this hub area and then a bunch of offshoots that some of which connect back to each other and all connect back to the hub, but not all of them connect to each other, you know? I think the coolest thing about this game is the manual. As you play through this game, everything is a language you can't understand, right? and you have to utilize the pages of the manual that you find scattered around the world to figure out the secrets, to figure out how things work, just like we used to do with video game manuals that we physically had in front of us. And you have to flip the pages of the manual to be able to find the secrets. And I used that thing so much, just like I used to use manuals on like the original Legend of Zelda or the original Dragon Quest, and flipping through it, trying to find it. It was called Dragon Warrior when we got it over here, but trying to find how to get somewhere, or what to do, or what's this flute that's mentioned here in this one page of the Dragon Quest manual for Dragon Quest 2, Dragon Warrior 2. But just slowly trying to figure out what is what and piecing together the clues until you find just what you need. Until it all clicks. Finding a new page was not just finding a new verb for your tool set, right? It was finding a new riddle while also finding answers to 6 questions you didn't even know you had asked yet. I love the way the manual works in this game, and it captured a part of my childhood in a way that I really didn't think it would. And it made me feel like that little kid again, desperately flipping through the manual trying to find what I needed to find. Love this game. Again, what else can I say without spoiling it? I really liked this game. 100% recommend Tunic. You should play Tunic. 100%. If you like exploration in video games, if you like piece together a really cool story, if you like action combat, if you like leveling up, you don't level up like the natural way, I guess. You're not like gathering XP, but instead you find items that let you level up your stats, and it's all really satisfying. Tunic's a great game. We're going to talk spoilers now, because there's not much more I can say without getting into spoilers. I adore the story in this game. At first, it doesn't seem like much, right? But as you get going, what's going on in the Rooted Ziggurat and the way that turns everything, all of a sudden, the moment when you free the air, just, man, of all, like, there's a lot of times in video games where you're working for somebody and they betray you, right? Or they turn out to be the bad guy, right? And the heir is not technically the bad guy in this. The heir is just as much a victim. But it was really just a moment of, oh, okay. I really thought I was doing something good here. Oh, wait, they're doing what? What is this corruption that's going on here? What have the foxes done? And it turns everything on its head in such a cool way. And then you die. And you gotta be a ghost for a little while. And your stats are set back to 3 for all your stats. And I know some people would probably complain about that, but it made the challenges that came even more even more satisfying to overcome. Because once you've overcome them and you've retained just a bit of your strength, little by little, you pull back all your strength as you complete these challenges until you're back to your former power, and then you're able to fight the air. And I found the fight against the air was really solid. I did cheese it a little bit, decoys, because I kept dying. But I had so many different ways that I tried to fight the air, and I think a game is really good when you have a bunch of tools that work against the final boss, right? I tried the hourglass method, and I won the first phase, no problem with the hourglass method, and then realized there was another phase. I tried bombs and setting it on fire. I tried using, and again, this is all spoilers. So like, if you've got to this point and you hear me talking about something and you didn't know you could do it, I didn't mean to spoil it for you, but this is all spoilers. I tried combining the fire rod and the ice amulet because the manual told me to. We're going to talk about the manual in a minute. I didn't talk about the manual in non-spoilers. I'm going to go back and put a section in for the manual in non-spoilers. But tried combining that like the manual told me to, and was able to freeze it and did all this kind of stuff, and finally was able to use decoys and still almost died in the end. But by utilizing all my tools, I was able to take down the final boss, the air, and then I got trapped. And realization hit me. And I went back into that world to try and figure out what I was missing. And that was when I found out about the Golden Path. That was when I found out about the Hero's Cross. That was when I found out about the fairies. As I went and just started scraping everything, trying to find all the secrets. And I found a couple, like, the big secrets, like the secret treasures, right? But I did eventually collect all the fairies, and I got all of the pages after quite a bit of time trying to solve those puzzles and thinking I might have put the inputs in wrong. And figuring out the inputs. Golden Path was something, man. It was really satisfying when I got that final manual page and then went to go fight the air again. And I was like, now that I have all the fairies, now that I have all the manual, I just know I'm going to fight this final boss and something's going to happen. The fairies are going to come in to save me, or we're going to open up the manual again, because it wouldn't have kicked me back out and told me game over unless I had done something wrong, right? I was missing something. And then you don't fight the air. You give the air the manual, and it starts to cry as it remembers who it was, it seems like. And then it reveals it was the hero! And you and the hero team up. And that's it. That's the end of the game. You and the hero just get to be friends, and neither of you are alone in the world anymore. And it made me so happy. I don't think a video game has ever had a moment that, like, I did so much footwork to get a cutscene, and I was ecstatic at the end of it. I was beyond overjoyed that all that work had paid off, in that my little fox could be okay. And the hero's with him. And we've been going to the hero's grave all the time. And now the question, of course, is it that hero or is it a previous hero? Has this cycle just been going on ever since the foxes fell? You know, there's so much lore in here that I haven't touched on at all. Each of the areas are really cool. Some really great boss fights. The scavenger boss, the librarian, the siege engine. Some really cool boss fights. But it's that final moment with the two of them together and everything's okay that just really, really made my day. Man, the journey was absolutely worth it for the journey itself, but the destination was so much more than I thought I was going to get. I adore the true ending to Tunic. I adore the way this game works. Absolutely, firmly recommend, even if you haven't played it, even if you listened all the way through the spoiler section, just because you want to hear me talk about it, 100% play Tunic. I know this review is going to seem short compared to all the other reviews that I've done, but I refuse to spoil too much for people. The secrets in this game are so good. They're so satisfying. 100% play Tunic. I'll talk more about it in other videos, I'm sure, because I'm not done talking about Tunic yet. But just please give Tunic a chance. Love this game. Until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum Tunic has to offer.